What up, what up, what up? It's your boy Primetime Naeem, and today I have a special guest. It is my boy Lane.
What's goody?
And today we're going to talk about a very sensitive topic. We're going to talk about should we be celebrating the whole transgender movement? Now, this is a really touchy subject. Nobody wants to go near this thing, which is exactly why I want to talk about it today. The whole reason this even came up is because recently D Wade's son recently came out as being transgender.
Right.
And he's 12 years old, which is another aspect of it. But it's the reaction from the public that really caught my attention because a lot of people were celebrating this whole thing of D Wade's son wanting to be called her and she, and he wants to be recognized as a girl from now on. So I mean, it's cool, if they could have something, if they want to do what they want to do. But my whole thing is, as a society, should we really is this something that we should really celebrate? I mean, cool, he went ahead and do that, but, is this something that we should be encouraging and, promoting? So I'm going to raise that question to you. Is the transgender movement something that we should be necessarily celebrating?
Well, I think, like, with D Wade being such a popular figure, that's what made it such a mainstream thing. Because you see a lot of time on social media, people complaining like, "Why you worried about how he raising his kids?" Like,
right. Mm-hmm.
I honestly don't care. I could care less.
Right.
It doesn't affect me personally. To that effect, but it's more or less just like the social normalization
Right.
of homosexuality and transgender behavior throughout the country. Granted, you want everybody to be accepted as who they are, but it's almost as if they're like pushing an agenda to take away our rights to give them their rights.
Right.
Whereas it's like, okay, I don't care how you behave within your own social construct, but don't make it seem as though it has to be a part of mine.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I have friends that that be trapping or whatever. You know what I mean? But like, in my social construct, in this stage of my life, like, I'm not in the trap.
Right.
So it's just like, I would compare it to that. Whereas people often try to typically say that being a transgender or being being homosexual is related to being black in America, where it's just like, I mean, that is like such an extreme.
Yeah, I've heard that comparison a lot, and
It's kind of disrespectful to our ancestors.
right, yeah, right. And I feel like the black struggle and the LGBT struggle is completely two separate things. So I'm kind of glad you brought that up, where it is in one way like I'm black and you can see that I'm black like right away. Instantly you can know that I am black. You don't know I am gay until you see my actions.
Facts.
And then a lot of, you can say like, oh, someone's dressing flamboyant, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're gay.
Cameron, Dipset, shut up.
Right. Prince.
Pause. So just with the pink thing.
Yeah, right. But just because you dress a certain way doesn't necessarily mean you're gay. So it could be guys just like me and you who are homosexual. So the whole discrimination factor, I don't understand that at all, because no one's gonna know you're gay unless they actually caught you having sex with the same sex.
Yeah, so it's more or less, everybody was raised on, or what, Martin Luther King says, judge a man by the character.
Right.
You know what I mean? So at that point, I'm judging you on an action.
Right.
I'm not judging you on appearance. You know what I
Right,
mean? Because
right.
basically what you just said, you know, I can't see that you're gay from just looking at you.
Right.
You know what I mean? You acted away, and it's like, okay, I have the right to then
Right.
act accordingly, respond to your actions with my reaction to that.
Right.
So it's just like, you know, granted, I'm not going to treat you any less of human,
Right.
but we're just not going to be in the same social constructs on a daily basis. You know what I mean? Like, or on a routine basis. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
just it just doesn't add up to you know what I see as a healthy society. Granted, you know, people act as if like separation isn't a thing,
Right.
and like we all can just be together in kumbaya. But there are certain things that, you know, you're just not gonna allow around you. Like, granted, I'm not comparing homosexuality to murderers or any type of wrongdoers of that nature, but in the same vein, you're just not gonna be around things that are not of you. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So that's how I see that.
So let me get back to specifically the transgender thing, because although they both kind of like in the same vehicle, you know, I feel like the whole homosexuality and transsexual things are like two different things, but they're very interconnected. Alright, so homosexuality, although I may not agree with it, it's a very simple concept of I'm a guy who likes other guys, or I'm a girl who likes other girls.
Right.
With the transgender thing, it's a lot trickier because now you're saying I'm a guy who thinks I'm a girl and I want it to be referred to as such, and I also like guys. You know what I mean? Or both, whatever. But
Yeah.
I feel like the with the transgender thing, and that's why I really wanted to touch on that, because that is where things get really tricky as far as, you know, how do we process someone saying I believe I'm something other than I was born.
Well, you know, everything I do or everything how I see the world is always gonna it's always gonna have a point of reference to my belief, my faith system.
Okay.
Granted, you know, just being raised as a Christian, I am still. So it's like my point of reference, regardless of what I'm willing to accept and take in, I'm gonna have a point of reference to this is my foundation.
Right.
So in Corinthians 14:33, it says, "For God is not the author of confusion." Right? So everything you just described as a person that's trapped in a man's body but feels as though they're a woman, it sounds like confusion to me. So I don't see that as a natural thing. Whereas there are a bunch of different ways to look at that. Whereas, you know, you have just as recently as 1973, where homosexuality was taken out of the DSM as a mental disorder.
Right.
That's like super recent. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
you know, niggas was still like out here, you know, not able to go in certain places. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, not consistently. It wasn't like Jim Crow, but it was
You're-
still tough out here for black people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's how recent that kind of stuff is. To where it's just like, okay, what was the reason that it was removed? Like how, what do you think made something like that go from being a mental disorder to being an accepted agenda being pushed forward to what it is today?
Well, I think all that starts with powerful gay white men. I like to, you know, reference the Dave Chappelle skit when he was talking about that. You know, white men are driving this, gay white men are driving this vehicle, and because they're white men, they know these roles of discrimination well.
They created them.
Yeah, and he jokes about how transgenders are kind of holding back that vehicle. But you know, because
That's funny.
yeah, because white men are in a place of status and power, they use that power to push their message through all kind of media outlets and all over television shows. I saw one report that said I believe it was about 4% of American citizens are reported to be part of the LGBT community. Um, and then when you look at the stats as far as representation on television, the number was between 8 and 9%. So they're over here talking about how they're not getting enough representation.
They're actually being overrepresented.
Right, exactly. So I just, I find that very interesting. So that's basically how they're doing it. They have, and I feel like that's the difference between the black struggle and the gay struggle, is that they're in a position of power to get their message across, and to not only that, cancel anybody who is talks against that. So they have a very powerful force, and I think that's how they were able to switch the narrative on that.
That's an interesting point, because it's like the black people that are in power for us, it's almost as if they try to steer away from fighting for black issues. They're more or less like, let's all be inclusive. So it's like more or less like, okay, you have the Black Lives Matter thing, but then you have black people championing the All Lives Matter thing, where it's like all lives aren't in danger of being shot by the police every day just for being black,
Right.
So I can't go outside and take off my black, whereas
That'd
openly,
be nice though. I would love to do that though.
I would have a better credit score than I do right now. Right? So yeah, it would be amazing. But ultimately, it's just like, okay, if an openly gay man wants to go outside and dress in a dress, then my eyesight would tell me that he's gay, right? Or I would have an inclination that that's a gay man. You know what I mean?
Like I said before, they could be like dressed like me and you, and then and just walk the streets normally, and not face any kind of discrimination at all, because no one knows what they're doing behind closed doors.
Right. So I guess that goes to the point. Maybe that is the point that they're trying to make, that they feel as though they can't be openly gay, like just walk around in dresses, or that goes back to the don't ask, don't tell thing.
Right.
Where it was like, ultimately, like, I don't see what was the problem with that. Granted, they want to, remove that from the military and all sectors of life, where it's just like, nah, I want to tell you I'm gay. It's just like, now you're just pushing it on me, bro. Like, relax. Like, I don't really care. I don't necessarily need to care. What you do is your sexual preference in your own home is cool. Like, do your thing. Like, what me and my wife do has nothing to do with the world. Like, I'm not about to just come out and just talk to y'all about what we do. So it's just like, it's the same thing. Like, why do I have to know? So it's more or less just like, you guys are just being over pushy towards straight people. So it's just like,
Do you think with the D-Wade situation that he shouldn't have made it so publicized?
Nah, I don't care about that. It's the fact he's super famous. So the fact that his son is openly gay, he's all on social media. He has millions of followers. Like, people are going to be like, it would look weird for D-Wade to not mention it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so you're just going to ignore the fact that your son is out here doing what he's doing right now? So, granted, I honestly just feel like, to that point, just as a little sidebar, I think that, like, as a heterosexual man, like, as crazy as this is, to the people that will support the gay community, that has to be like a guy's worst nightmare, that their son becomes that. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's ultimately like, damn, like, this is crazy. Like, I don't want this, but you'll accept them if that bridge comes. You know what I mean? But that's ultimately like, no, I don't think no man will ultimately want that. You just talk yourself into it once that moment happens. But I think him having to accept that socially is, again, it's up to him. Like, I don't care how somebody else raised their child. I just think the fact that he's the Wayne Wade, it made it so public, though.
All right, but how do you feel about him being, the kid being 12 years old, and not just coming, because we've been known he was gay for a while, but him taking it a step forward and coming out as transgender.
Well, I mean, according to it was an article by the Los Angeles Children's Hospital, where they discussed that the appropriate age to talk to your kids about sexual orientation or sexual desires or whatever is like 13 and 14. I think he's like, what, 12?
12.
So, all right, I still think that is it's still too young of a mind. Like, you know what I mean? Especially as a boy, like, you know, women develop a lot faster than men. So, like, his mind is not nowhere near fully developed. So to entrench yourself in a sexual orientation at such a young age, that ultimately, like, you know, you're gonna have to be, or you're gonna talk yourself into becoming, if everybody around you is just accepting it. It's just like, you know, I just feel like you're just leading a confused life, because at that age, like, you don't know what you want to be. You don't know
Right.
that you like dudes. Like, come on, like,
You know, and see, and this is why I try to go back to the original question: is should we be celebrating this? Is because my question that I have is this all coming from a healthy place to begin with, right? So if you're a young boy and you decide that you want to be a girl, some of that has to come from the dislike of not being what you are. So basically, what I'm getting to, especially uh, as a black man, and of course being born black, you know, all my life I've been taught to love the skin I'm in, you know, and that includes, you know, my hair, my gender, all of that, you know. You know, in the black community, we celebrate women for rocking their natural hair. Right. You know what I mean? You know, not that we really bash women for wearing weave or anything. You know, do what you do, but it's not necessarily something to be like celebrated or anything like that. And
you about to get us canceled, bro.
Yeah. right. But you know what I mean? Like even you know, that's just like another form of just like, okay, I can't, you know, where, you know, if you really think about it, you know, with the, you know, even with that is it's coming from a place of, you know.
You connect that to self-hatred as well?
So say that one more time.
You connect that to self-hatred as well, a form of it?
So where it's deep rooted. You
want your hair to look more straight and non-natural to your.
Right. So if you want to, and now we're going really deep down the rabbit hole there.
That's what I'm saying. You want to.
Yeah.
Right, let's do it.
You know, I mean, we can go ahead and do this because, hey, look, man, you know, just with the, you know, family I was raised in, and if you want to say you're pro-black, you know what I mean, you can't be out here rocking no weave. You know what I mean? That's just my 2 cents on it. Now, you can say, look, I'm not really into that whole pro Pan-African movement. Okay. And cool, rock your weave. You know what I mean? But like to me, like especially if you're, especially when people compare the LGBTQ with the black struggle, and being for black movement, part of, you know, being pro-black is loving who you are, all of it. You know what I mean? Loving your nappy hair if you have it, or you know what I mean. If you got an afro, love that.
So that doesn't mean don't use combs though, right?
Yeah, no. I'm saying take care of your hair. You know what I'm saying? Like, you still groom yourself and do that, but you know what I mean. You don't have to. You know, like I'm gonna piss off a lot of women when I say this right now, but I low key like roll my eyes a little bit whenever I see black women rocking the blonde hair.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think that's a little more ridiculous than actual straightening form.
We just lost our whole female.
Well, no, I mean because if you want to talk about a straightening, the hair straightening, that I can agree with that. Right. But even that to an extent is a part of black culture. Right. Because, you know, like black people, yeah, you know what I mean. Black people originate. Every race originates from black people. Right. So if you're talking about the actual color of the hair and the texture, those are two different things. So it's like if a woman wants her hair straight versus if a woman wants to change the color of her hair to match that of which is naturally from another race, then that's the issue. Whereas it's like, you know, if it's just a straighter hair, then it's like, okay, whatever, you just want your hair straight today.
Gotcha.
But you know what I mean? Yeah. I want to. I don't want to be. I don't want those things to be confused.
Now you know what I mean. You can rock it. You know, black women can have straight hair. You know what I'm saying? And it can be their hair, and they can be. You know what I mean? That's them. That's them as a black woman. Right. You know, doing that. But you know, back to, you know, the connection with, you know, people, women or guys or girls wanting to change their appearance to look like another gender.
Mm-hmm.
I also feel like that's some kind of form of self-hatred, where it's like, why don't you love yourself the way you are? You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Right.
And so
Right.
that's really kind of where I'm getting to the crust of it. We kind of got real deep right
Yeah,
there.
it's cool. We there though. We there though.
Yeah.
We took
You
it
know
there
what I
for a
mean?
second.
But you know what I mean? Look,
But I mean, I think that goes into
Mhm.
what we were talking about earlier, where it's just like, okay, if you see yourself as something that you're not,
right.
then that's why I think that belonged in the mental disorder book.
Gotcha.
Because at that point, it's something in your brain that's telling you you're something that you're not genetically.
Right.
You know what I mean? Ultimately, you're not a woman. Like, I don't care if you put on a dress. I don't care if you go get a sex change. I don't care if you remove your God-given parts. You know what I mean? You're still a man under the woman stuff that you're putting on.
Right.
So ultimately, like, that's where I see the mental disorder aspect of it, where it's just like, okay, now you're just now we're pushing confusion, and we want to accept confusion. We want to accept people being confused about who they are.
I'm glad you brought that point up, because I was reading a book, and it's about homosexuality and transgenders, and the guy was talking about how it's interesting how we tell our brain that our body is not right. You know what I mean? Like we get in this situation where it's like, you know what? I don't feel comfortable with my body, therefore my body is wrong. Instead of taking the mindset that, no, there's nothing wrong with my body. You know what I mean? I just need to learn to love the person I am and love the body I'm in.
Right.
Versus saying, I don't like my body, so I need to
Alter it.
I need to alter it. I need to change it. I don't like my gender, so I need to get rid of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's, and we say, and we endorse that as a society, and say, hey, look, man, this guy doesn't like his gender.
Let's change it.
Let's change it. Versus, let's change the mentality.
Yeah.
And
But that goes to
and
how that connects to us as a culture. Is like with black people, it's like we don't feel. I know my girl talks about this all the time, where it's just like, as black people, we don't feel like we can go to therapy.
Right.
So it's like, if you fell down and hurt your arm, you're gonna go to the doctor because your arm is hurting.
Right.
If your mind is hurting,
Right.
why not go to the doctor to get that fixed?
Right.
You know what I mean? That's what therapy is. Like, so
Right.
people don't take the time to go get their mental health checked out. You know what I mean? Where that's a whole nother social topic.
Right.
But ultimately, I find it funny how that coincides with the whole timing. It's crazy, the timing where mental health is coming to the forefront.
Yes.
Where in conjunction with the homosexuality and the transgender.
Right.
Because it's a bunch of people confused, a bunch of people in pain.
Right.
Granted, it's people having mental issues for mental trauma through other things.
Right.
But I just think it's crazy that I don't believe in coincidences. So I think that those things colliding all at one point in time are part of the same spectrum. You know what I mean? Different
Right.
things on the same spectrum.
Right.
Where it's just people just are confused, and I think people need to dive deeper into those thoughts before they make a lifelong decision.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think you need to talk that thing out through therapy. Like, since we brought the topic up on Dwayne Wade's son, like, I mean, maybe he should have sent him to therapy. Like, you sure? Like, why do you feel like you're a man? I mean, why do you feel like you're a girl,
Right.
but you're clearly a boy? Like, what is going on here? Like,
Right.
what's the reason?
And that's the thing is, if you want to be, because I had this conversation earlier, and I was saying, if he wants to be a girl, there's something that he has against being a boy.
Right.
And I know people don't want us to have these conversations, but it's important, because we need to figure out, why is it that he has a negative viewpoint of being a boy? Because when I was growing up as a boy, I loved being a boy, and I grew up with nothing but sisters, right?
Right.
But I was like, man, being a boy is awesome, it's great. There is something in him that's telling him that being a woman is better, therefore I want to be a woman instead. You know what I mean? So there's something there, and I it's gonna take some smarter people than us to figure out, what is causing that. And I don't want to get into D Wade's son's whole family dynamic, but there's a lot there that you can get into.
Well, hold on. Let me just take time because to touch on that. I wanted to read something from this article.
Okay, yeah, sure.
And it was talking about the theories of homosexuality. and it pretty much break down to three different broad categories: pathology, immaturity, and normal variation. So with normal variation, they break it down and say that homosexuality can be chopped up to the amount of people that are left-handed versus right-handed.
Right.
So that left-handed person would be a gay person. Not saying that all left-handed people are gay. Obviously, I'm just saying that the example of the theory of normal variation compares it to the amount of people that are gay are the left-handed. So and then you have immaturity, to where it's basically looked at homosexuality as a phase that one is to grow out of.
Right.
And if someone is an adult that is still homosexual, that insinuates a stunt in growth, right? So, whereas pathology points to, it says that these theories regard adult homosexuality as a disease, a condition, deviating from normal heterosexual development. The presence of atypical gender behavior or feelings are symptoms of a disease or disorder to which mental health professionals need to attend. So if you take it from that perspective, which I mostly kind of agree with, but at least according to this, the theory of normal variation won out because ultimately homosexuality was removed from the mental disorder category. So they look at it as a normal variation to say that it's just as many people as going to be left-handed, there's going to be a gay person, basically. Or it's just, that's normal. It's just normal variation. So do you agree with the three deviations between how homosexuality is looked at? Which one do you think you would lean more towards? I think I have a good idea, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all of that makes sense, and I always say, like, I completely understand the whole path, to homosexuality, and we got to take a break here in a minute, but I just want to say, like, just because you may have, growing up, you may have homosexual thoughts. It might creep up to you. You might be a guy who looks at another guy and be like, damn, he looks good, right? Pause, right? But
Kevin Hart got in trouble for saying that, man. Where it's just like, if you see your son doing something like that, it's like, hey, that's gay.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that was this whole big thing,
right.
but
and see,
that's what happens.
See, and look, that's the thing. Like, you can have
your gay moment, I guess.
You may have a gay moment in your life, and that's cool. And kind of what you were talking about, we were talking about the immaturity and the having to be in the phase that you grow out of.
Right.
You know what I mean? To touch on that a little bit is that yes, you can have these feelings, you can have these urges, but you don't have to act on this. You have a choice.